Under the continuous state of emergency, he awaits. Looking over the city now dark and silent. Not a soul on the checkpoint. The neon signs have been abandoned and no flights are roaming the skies. Just thin clouds hanging from the heights like ghosts. The crickets cry so hard, it's as if you could hear the heat itself. The hum, the drone, the breathing. All the earth is still barely breathing. And the grand arch of her chest bends as our horizon. They have been called many names. Closed down state, a dictatorship with a conscience, and the green right. He'd be the first to admit that the process has been, shall we say, complicated. It was the only way he felt he could get it done. The planet was, and still very much is, dying. Passing day tries to get rid of its sickness. It seeks to shake the ants crawling all over its aching body. It's pushing out lava and burning winds, tsunamis, blizzards and heat waves lasting for months on end. But still, we are here. There are more of us every single day, millions upon the billions. Still there are Hummers and golf courses, bottled iceberg water, private islands and jets. Still it's legal to burn fossil fuels day and night, year after year. Somebody had to act. The party he was leading, the Green Party, had the ways, the know-how needed for the change, but not the will. Not really. The party was tied up in day-to-day politics and utilitarian calculations. Is it worse to fly to China than it is to eat a steak?
Calculation anymore. Would you sacrifice a child's life to save what exactly? How do you count the suffering of generations never to be born? The suffering of a forest, of an ocean. These equations do not long for answer, but action.
On the other side of the divide were the populist nationalists, the outcasts of the political elite. They had 15% of the vote, the Greens more or less the same 15%. Both useless in their own right, but powerful if combined. He saw them as the solution, as a way into power. They would be the muscle that he was missing. Started secret negotiations behind his party's back. And he surprised everybody by bringing the new allies with him to the National Convention. He was accused of betrayal for a good reason and for planning a coup, even for a better one. But he responded to his critics by presenting a vision.
A brand new country, free of pollution, free of the old corrupted parties and the distorting influence of corporations. A new way forward instead of endless political deadlock. A daring union across the divide. A new story. A story of a proud, sustainable nation. It comes with a sacrifice I admit, but how could it not? If we truly want to save the nation and the earth.
Still many members of his party and the parliament were horrified and appalled. How can you work with these Nazis? You know morals. You've gone insane. But it wouldn't matter, because when the polls came in, the voters seemed to agree with him. They were tired of the same old faces and their empty promises. Results made others take notice and started a domino effect. He could negotiate more people into joining his cause, or at least to not vote against him. The most greedy ones for starters. All the media outlets were writing almost exclusively about the unholy alliance. Mostly negatively for sure, but writing nevertheless. He worked the parliament some more. The opportunists, the outcasts and the pragmatists. He could turn some of those around too. Meanwhile they kept climbing in the polls. As the new movement picked up pace, the traditional parties were not able to join up against it, but started to crumble into smaller fractions. So finally, on election day, these fractions found themselves isolated on the wrong side of the newly drawn political divide. There are more detailed accounts on how it all played out, but the outcome of the chaotic election was that he was the one chosen to form a new government. He made his new friends stay in line until well after the election. Until they had the votes in the parliament. Until he had wheeled and dealt with the other French groups. Until he had the required signatures, declarations and the baton in hand, and then he let his eager allies do what they do best. To terrorize and to destroy. He simply stood back and let them run loose, all red-eyed and foaming at the mouth. Men in uniforms, marching into boardrooms, documents flying out of windows, chairs falling long staircases, arrests on the train stations, all the ports closed down, and the airplanes ablaze on the airfields all over the country. Tweets turning into declarations, turning into speeches, turning into walkouts, turning into marches, turning into riots, turning into a state of emergency. The uproar, the rise, the violence, the bombs, the fires, the speedy trials. Black car convoys turning into taxis, turning into scooters, turning into hiding in the back of a truck, turning into a donkey limping on a narrow mountain trek. The closing, the liberation, the confiscation, the socialization, the worldwide smut campaign, the panic, the market meltdown, the shutting down of the borders, the embargo and the blackout. And then, just when they thought it had ended, all hell would rain down on all the enemies of the state for so long and so hard. They wished they had never been born. After the Great Purge, the two parties officially merged to form ECNA, the National Ecological Party. He personally had nothing against other races, religions, or sexual orientations, but ECNA's stand on these matters was the deal he had to make to gain control, the price he had to pay for power. On top of this, he let his loyal dogs have titles, shiny shields, and uniforms, the highest formal honors of the nation. He could not even really blame them for coveting such banalities. For what can an ant have but ants do? After he could focus on the real issues, the country withdrew itself from all international agreements, organizations, and proceedings. Government's efforts were put to reorganize the infrastructure and to produce energy inside the nation's borders, by wind and solar power exclusively, leading to a significant drop in the standard of living. All major companies were nationalized. One-child policy was enforced. Euthanasia was legalized and in some cases encouraged. The old oligarchs put behind bars or on the wrong side of the now tightly controlled border. And all the streets stayed empty for his loyal dogs to roam free at night. If he had to choose a story to tell to the future generations, he preferred it to be one of a nation rather than of individuals. A shared project instead of a lonely search for the fleeing self. A country with a journey shared by its citizens instead of pointless self-expression.
You, my dear people, you are tired. You're tired of the endless search and the constant doubt that this hollow liberty brings you. What you need is to belong. Belong to a family, a country, and the earth. Belong to a chain of generations. To something much bigger than any one of us.
And this was ultimately the reason they succeeded. Some people might have been ready to save the earth, some despised the corrupted system, and others were full of racist hate towards the outsiders. But what united every one of them was an existential emptiness. Constant need fulfillment loop of consumer liberalism eating away underneath that left them hollow and lost. The world had been spinning faster and faster out of control. Had been more lights, distraction, innovation, and technology. So much wealth and so-called wellness more than ever before that had gone around and around at an even more rapid pace through the land, sea, and air, and even in outer space. But in the center of it all, there had been nothing. Just a black well that would not fill up no matter how much pleasure or entertainment you would pour down its deep, damp walls. And so we are here with him as he awaits. For she moves in time of the glaciers, of the planets and evolution. Her blinks are years, her days are eternities. He waits for her to wake up, for her to turn and to shake. Or perhaps when the mountain tumbles, clouds ignite, and the tectonic plates crack open like porcelain. Maybe the center just caves in, like there is nothing underneath. And one might say it makes no difference, because when the galactic hammer comes down and the blood-dimmed tide is loosed, there will be no escape.
But I'm telling you, there is a difference between a world coming to an end and of one not existing. A difference between failing while trying to save something and there not being anything worth saving at all.